insurance isn't in here, so just give me the grace of working in round numbers to explain this. But a $370,000 purchase price with an intended 20% down payment is $74,000 down and a $296,000 loan. But as we mentioned, it only appraised for $330,000. So if we use that 90% loan, she's putting 33% down against the $330,000. Now I know she's got to put more down because the purchase price is $370,000, but bear with me. So $370,000, 20% down is $74,296 loan. Here we go. $330,000 is the appraised value. The lender only requires 10% against the appraised value because it's less than the purchase price. That's $33,000 down, which qualifies her for a $297,000 loan. Now, I rounded it up because there was some loose change in there, but that's the same loan amount. In the other scenario, it was a $296,000 loan. That leaves $41,000 to bridge the gap to get it back up to that $370,000. So do the math. A $33,000 down payment and that $41,000 that's necessary to bridge the gap is the same $74,000 that she would have put down. So in this instance, she's putting the same amount down. Her loan amount is the same. Her interest rate's the same. And her down payment's the same. The only difference is the property only appraised for $330,000. So if she can get her mind around paying $40,000 more than, what the value of the property in the appraiser's mind, this loan product gets her checks all her boxes. All of her goals are met. The same amount out of pocket, the same loan amount, the same monthly payment. So the 90% loan with no MI is a super, super powerful tool. And I just encourage everybody to, if your guy doesn't have it, call us, call someone else. And I'm not knocking your guy. This isn't a product that everybody has, but it is a product that exists. It's not a flying unicorn. It's not the Loch Ness Monster. It's not, what do you call the big hairy guy? Bigfoot. It's a real loan product, and we're using it daily in our practice for situations like this, and for the simple fact that you can put less money down and still have the no mortgage insurance. So, which is awesome because that avoids you having to petition the lender later to drop the MI. So, super powerful loan program. It exists, 90% no MI. And we are happy to discuss it with you if you have questions. If you're an agent out there and you're listening to this, I encourage you to give us a shout. We'll walk you through how to use this for that very reason that we just talked about, bridging the appraisal gap, because you can do it without upfront mortgage insurance, which is another strategy that we're not going to get into. So I hear the police car sneaking up behind me. Hey, that offer's still out there. If anybody knows what song this is, call or text. I'll be happy to send you a Starbucks card. One of my favorites, lesser known band, but one of my favorites. So we'll be back on the other side of this. I encourage you to call us at 561-291-8569. That's 291-8569 or www.mr.mortgage. Hey, it's Mark Eitel here, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show. And you've heard me talk about the valuation tool that we use in our lending practice almost daily. It's not quite an appraisal, but it's way more accurate than one of those online estimates. And we're happy to run one of those reports for you at no charge. Just visit freevaluereport.org. That's freevaluereport.org. Give us a little information about the property, and we'll be happy to send you your report. That's freevaluereport.org.
Here's another 5-star review.
We started our loan with a different company. They said we were approved, but at the last minute they told us there was a problem. I still don't know what went wrong, but thankfully our real estate agent told us about Mark. I was pretty stressed, but it's the perfect house, so we gave Mark a shot. He got it done. I'm not sure what was different, but I don't really care. We even got a better interest rate and with less money out of pocket than the first guy quoted us. It was a great surprise. Yes, I'm happy to recommend Mark and his Mr. Mortgage team.
It's not every day that you need an appraisal, whether it's for a divorce settlement, estate planning, or maybe you're appealing a tax assessment, or you just want to make sure you have adequate coverage in your property insurance. When you need a certified appraisal, turn to my friends at soflappraisal.com. That's SOFLappraisal.com. Peter and his team have been appraising properties here in South Florida for decades. SOFLappraisal.com. And tell him you heard this on the Mr. Mortgage Show.
Are inflation and everyday expenses eating into your retirement income? Maybe you've considered a reverse mortgage and have unanswered questions like, do I still own my property? Can the bank kick me out? What happens when I die? Can I still leave my house to my kids? These are all great questions. Visit www.moreaboutreverse.com to learn more. That's www.moreaboutreverse.com. www.moreaboutreverse.com.
Welcome back to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Call us now, 561-291-8569.
You heard the big announcer. Give us a shout at 561-291-8569. You can also text that line. Dom's, as you hear, he's managing the text line. So I know a lot of people don't want to hear their voice on the air. Sometimes I don't want to hear my voice on the air. But yeah, so you can call or text 561-291-8569, or as always, visit the website, www.mr.mortgage. That's www.mr.mortgage. And speaking of Dom, the producer, and questions, let's jump into another question. What do you have, Dom?
All right, we have David from Jupiter. David says, I want to try to buy something, but I'm afraid the market is going to crash or at least pull back some. Prices seem crazy. Do you think we're in for a market correction?
Hey, David, that was his name, David? Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, David, great question. So, and I know there's a lot of people that have been sitting the fence thinking the same thing, and there's so many intricacies to the market, right? So you have upward pressure in interest rates, appreciation still moving. So even if prices stay flat, like they never appreciate again, that $350,000 townhouse that we used as an example is only ever worth $350,000. It's going to cost you more at 6% to borrow money than at 4%. So just keep that in mind. There is a cost of inactivity. We talked about it before. I mentioned the gentleman in Green Acres who waited another year, signed his lease, and it cost him, I don't remember the numbers. I'll have to go back and pull the notes, but I want to say it was over $50,000. I know it was at least $50,000, but yeah, just think of all of the moving parts in the market when you are convincing yourself to wait it out. And I get it. Prices are crazy. Listen, I was born and raised here. I've lived here my entire life, and I see prices in some of the neighborhoods that I grew up in and played in, and I just, it's hard to imagine, but that's where we are. But hey, listen, gas used to be 25 cents a gallon too. And, my grandfather told me you'd get change for $5 and walk out of the store with a bag of groceries. So I don't know a definitive answer for you, but I can share with you that I've been in the business a long time. I first got licensed as a mortgage broker in 1999. And I mentioned my grandfather. He was a home builder here in South Florida. So I grew up kind of in real estate. We built, the family business, built homes in Royal Palm and Palm Beach Gardens. And, when there was nothing in either of those locations, 95 used to stop at PGA. I don't know how many of you remember that. But anyway, I've seen a lot in this market, and the crash was scary, and it was bad for a lot of people. I know I lost a tremendous amount of money and quite honestly, self-esteem in the real estate crash. And there's similarities. There's no question. We talked about it in the show before. If you look at the chart, we're in a, darn near vertical appreciation cycle. It's scary, but I just caution you to not talk yourself out of it, because there are some very distinct differences. So to answer your question, I don't think we're in for a crash. I do think we're in for a pullback of appreciation. And you've heard me say it before. My gut tells me we're somewhere between 6 and 9% appreciation. Once we get through this pop that we're in now with the pent up demand and the out of town buyers that we've already referenced in this show, I think we pull back to a 6% to 9%. And I referenced my personal experience way back in the day where we were at a 3% appreciation. It still made sense. But the market's very different now. And what I mean by that, when we saw the run up and then the subsequent crash last time, it was pure speculation. We had the loosest, most dangerous guidelines for lending that I've ever seen, and I don't think we'll ever see it again. You heard the term liar loan. with the right credit score, you needed no documentation. Lenders were throwing 100%. There were even loans out there where you could borrow more than 100%, finance some of your closing costs to buy the property. And all of that was fueled by the appetite of the secondary mortgage market. So there were a lot of secondary market investment opportunities at an institutional level that were created that drove all that money back down to you and I, the consumer. And we used it recklessly. We went out there and it was pure speculation. There were people, regular people. I was quoted in an article in the Palm Beach Post. I'll have to look it up. I'll be happy to share that with you. But I said, I'm afraid for the small business owner who's making $50,000 a year, but he's buying these $1 million speculative purchases. He's putting himself at risk. And what happened was that secondary market money dried up. There was nobody left to sell those properties to. Oh, and just to jump back to that guy, this avatar, if you will, this example, he was buying 6, 8, trying to buy 10 properties. Sometimes I was pulling credit and seeing people with multiple properties. We're not seeing that now. We're seeing people that are fully underwritten, well qualified. And back then we had a lot of adjustable rate, interest only. We had negative amortization loans. You could make a payment less than the minimum required payment, and they would tack the balance onto the end of your loan. So it was reckless back then from the lending standpoint, which fueled all the speculation. This time around, we're seeing, there's FOMO, right? So there's the fear of missing out. They're wanting to jump in. So there's a bit of speculation from that standpoint, but there's more of a fear of being priced out driving the intensity on the buyer side now than that desire to flip the property to the next person in line. It's like that old the old tulip bulb story from Europe. As soon as that last person in line isn't there to hand that burning potato to, the market crashes, and that's what happened. So when the secondary market money dried up, there was no more speculative lending, and then all of those adjustable programs started to adjust. The interest-only periods expired, and there was no demand in the market because that one guy owned 10 properties. So do you think another one guy is going to want to buy his 10 properties? He was having a fire sale just to get out from underneath it. So now I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing well qualified buyers with one, maybe two properties. They might be making a second home purchase. And just recently, moving into probably the third quarter of last year, we started to see a big uptick in investment properties driven by kind of the Airbnb market. But I'm not seeing the average Joe, if you will, carrying 10 mortgages and, living that real estate flipper lifestyle that we see on HGTV. I'm seeing, families that are trying to buy primary residence or more established buyers who may be buying a second home or a vacation home, or some people who are trying to supplement retirement income by buying a couple of investment properties. But they're all putting skin in the game. Down payments are required. There's cash flow analysis on investment properties. So I share that just to say I think the buyer is stronger in this market. And I think the biggest reason why there's not going to be a quote unquote crash is there's a ton of equity in the market right now. So if somebody got in trouble, they're able to sell their property for a profit without it having to go to foreclosure, and then the bank having to liquidate that on the foreclosure market, which is another reason prices were driven down last time. Also, too, not to get too deep into all of this, but there are institutional investors standing in the sidelines waiting to scoop up large portfolios of non-performing mortgage debt. So it's unlikely that it's ever going to make it to the street level, if you will, which is a big reason why the crash happened last time. So I know that's a lot. That was kind of a big word and fact salad that I just spilled all over you, and I apologize for that. I welcome a conversation. If anybody has interest, just give me a call, 561-291-8569. That also rings to my office during the week. But to answer your question, I do not think we're in for a crash. I do, however, believe that we're in for a pullback in appreciation. And just keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, if that property never appreciates again, that $350,000 house, if you can buy it at, let's say, 4%, it still makes a lot of sense because you're going to pay principal down over time and build equity. Waiting might also allow the time interest rates need to creep into the 5 or 6s, and you just priced yourself out of that $350,000 house anyway. So Be cautious. Be mindful of the market around you. Don't go carelessly and dangerously out there into this environment. But also, too, don't talk yourself out of it. Long answer to a complex question, because there are a lot of